Concentrate here. Focus here. Listen here. So today, let me explain you what are the IoT levels we have and what are the templates we are having. Concentrate here. IoT levels in the sense it is one kind of a system. You will be having certain kind of levels: level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6. Like level 1 means it is a basic system. Level 6 means the complexity is going to increase. Levels in the sense they are the system. What it is made up of. In simple definition, IoT level means it's a system. In that what it is comprises, what it is made up of. Yeah, concentrate here. So your system consists of devices, resources, a controller service, you have a database and REST or WebSocket services, and you have an application. Now let me tell you one by one what do you mean by a device, what do you mean by resources, and what do you mean by control service, and all these things. Means your system is made up of these many components, it consists of these all the things. Concentrate here. As you know, device means your device is responsible for exchanging the data, sharing the data, transferring the data, and collecting the information. That task is done by your device. Your application, the system will have a certain device. It may have one device or it may have many number of devices. Your device is responsible for what? Collecting the information, sharing the information, exchanging the information with whom? With other devices in the system. Understandable? Yes. Don't just chin up. Concentrate here. Don't see under your desk. So, simple example, your mobile is nothing but a device. With the mobile you can capture a photo, you can record a video, you can send a text messages, so sharing the information with other mobile. Like that, here in your application in the system, your device is responsible for exchanging the information, sharing the data, sharing the messages with other devices. Understandable? And monitoring node in the sense, they are nothing but the sensors. They are available in each and every area. As per this knowledge, we are having a one single node which is sensing, which is actuating, which is capturing everything. To the node, just keep in mind, node in the sense sensors. Those sensors will be connected to the device. The sensors will be attached to the device. Monitoring means you just seeing the status, you are capturing the status in the sense like temperature, moisture level in the soil, humidity in the air, those can be collected by the sensors. Technically we call them as a monitoring node. Understandable? Keep in mind, device as simple as it is, name itself suggesting you. Device means capture the information. It will be connected to other device. It shares the information. It stores the information. You are done with the device. Now what do you mean by resources? Your resources are nothing but software components. It has a software. It is responsible for setting up a network. Now, generally I tell you have lost the internet or you have lost the network. Is it possible to do a call? Say some. No. So that network setup for your application can be set up by resources. Your resources has what? Software. It has a software components, software devices. I want to run the system. I need a network. That network can be accessed by, that network can be created by Technically we say deployment. Generally we say created. Technically we say deployment. That deployment of networking can be done by resources. Understandable? I have a device. Now I have a network. I have a software devices. For what purpose? To process this data, to analyze this data. I need a software. It may be a Java programming, or it may be a Python programming. It may be anything. Who does this? Resources components will do that. Processing and analyzing the things. Processing this data. Which data? Device will have certain data. Clear? Session. So next, a controller service. What controller service is doing? It is running on the device. It is communicating with the device. What it does, it sends the data which is collected by your device. It sends the data to the web services. What controller service is doing? It is above the device. Whatever the device will collected the information, that collected information will be sent to whom? Your REST or web services. Understandable? Say some. As simple as it is. Device, resources, controller, service. So controller service is sending the data to the REST or web services. I have already explained you what are web services. It's like a pay on go basis. Pay on go basis. You have to pay in order to enjoy that service. You have to pay. You have to pay certain amount. It's like a storage services. Understandable? Your Google weather monitoring, your Google application, your phone pay application, everything. Like in Apple, it comes with a storage, cloud storage application. You have to pay certain amount monthly basis. Those are nothing but services. So controller service is communicating with the web services. It sends the data to the web services. Which data? The data is collected by this device. Right? Controller service monitors, check the data in the database. Where your database is available? Here I have wrote it down as local. Local in the sense, for example, in a lab you have a system. In that system you have a database which is locally present. And here I have wrote a dotted line. Your cloud is empty. Say yes or no? Concentrate here. Your cloud is empty. There is nothing I have written. There are no components. Say yes or no? There are no components. Cloud in the sense that can be accessed by internet. Local means your components are connected. You don't need any internet. Understandable? As simple as it is. In generally I am telling, local means you no need of Wi-Fi, you no need of internet to communicate with those devices. They are connected by wired or wireless. They are sharing certain Bluetooth, REST or WebSocket services. Clear? Cloud in the sense, you definitely need an internet to access the cloud. Here I don't have anything in the cloud. I don't have any components, anything I didn't mention. So your controller service will communicate with the data. It monitors the data, check the status of the data, update the data. That can be done by your controller service. Via whom? Via web services. Understandable? Clear up to this? Say some. Now app. Above we have a application. Application in the sense your phone pay application, your Ola application. A Candy Crush game is an application which you don't need an internet, or some application needs an internet. Application means your user, as being a user, will have an interface. Now this is like phone pay, and you will have this interface. That is nothing but application. User, that system will provide to the user certain interface, UI. Interface means the user can interact with that application. User can monitor and control the application. Say yes or no? For example, you have an internet, you can pay to others, you can monitor, you can change your user ID, you can change your PIN. That is nothing but application. So user will have the control, user will have the control over your application. Understandable? Say some. Yeah. So in IoT, we have different levels, like as I said, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6. So as you go from basic level to level 6, complexity increases. Complexity means you have to add some more components. That complexity is going to increase. Understood? Say some. Now as I explained you, REST and WebSocket, just let me give us some differences between them so that you can understand it somewhat properly. Concentrate here. I have already explained you REST and WebSocket protocols, application programming interface. Now let me give a differences between them. Clear with the components? Those are nothing but the components which we require to make a IoT system, to build an IoT system. Now let us see some differences between REST API and WebSocket API. Yeah. So REST API is a stateless model. I'll tell you the technical meaning of this. Concentrate here. It's a stateless model, and your WebSocket is a stateful model. Stateless model in the sense that your REST API will have a client and will have a server. I have already explained this. Question? Not feeling well? Yeah. Stateless in the sense, let me tell you what do you mean by stateless. As you know, REST model will have a client and server architecture. Say some. Yeah. Means client will send a request to the server. Each request, for example, client and server is sending a request to the server. And server will respond to the client. Again, client will send a request to the server. Again, server will respond to the client. One request, second request. Each and every request are independent. They are not dependent on each other. That is nothing but stateless model. Understandable? Client means you are the user. You will ask a question, one question to the server. Server will respond. Again, you will ask one more question. These are not dependent on each other. That is nothing but a stateless model. Now, what do you mean by stateful model? Concentrate here. Even it has a client, even it has a server, client, server. Now, client want to communicate with the server. Just it want to communicate with the server. Connection started. Again, server will give a response. I have initiated the connection. Acknowledgement. This is nothing but acknowledgement. Once connection started, concentrate very carefully. Once the connection started and once it got the acknowledgement, client can send the data, server can accept the data. Again, client send the data and server will give a return back to the client. Understandable? These are nothing but data frame. I'll repeat one more time. Once client will request for a connection. Once the connection initiated, server will give a acknowledgement. Once it is done, client will send a data frame. Data frame in the sense, this is nothing but your data frame, which is consists of zeros, one, zeros, one. Sending a data frame, receiving a data frame. Sending a data frame, receiving a data frame. That is nothing but your requests are not dependent on each other. Here, once the connection is done, once the establish is done, it is entirely open for all the things. Means the client and server can share the messages in a bi-directional way. That is full duplex. That is nothing but stateful. Understandable? Here requests are independent with each other. But here, in order to send this data frame, this connection should be there. Means this message is dependent on the initial connection. Understandable? This request is dependent on each other. Here requests are independent with each other. This makes it a stateful model. That is nothing but full duplex communication. Clear? Yes, sir. Yeah. The second difference is your REST follows request response model. What REST follows? Request response model. Your WebSocket follows exclusive pair model. Request response means just now only I said you, client will send a request to the server, server will respond to the request. That is a request response model. Your exclusive pair means this is only your client will send a connection to the server. In response, server will give an acknowledgement. Once the connection is done, you can send the data frames, you can receive the data frames. That is nothing but exclusive pairing. Exclusive pair. 1, 2, 3. Understood? Understandable? Say sir. Yeah. Now it is one more difference. It is unidirectional. What about this? Bidirectional. This is bidirectional. Unidirectional means same thing. Your client is sending a request, your server is responding a request. Again, client is sending a request, your server is responding a request. Only one direction. But it is bidirectional. Once the connection set up, once the connection we got the acknowledgement, client is sending the data and server is again sending the data back to the client. Means client and server can share the messages at the same time. Client and server, they can send and receive the messages at the same time. That is nothing but bidirectional or full duplex. Understandable? Stateless. It follows request response model. It follows exclusive pair model. Here requests are independent with each other. Here requests are dependent on each other. And this is a unidirectional communication. This is a bidirectional or a full duplex communication. Clear? Say some.
Yes, sir.
Say some. Yeah. Simply don't say yes. I am telling you very technically. Concentrate here. And here it has a overhead of header. Overhead means issues. Overhead means many headers. I will tell you what to mean by that. It has many headers. Why? Because every time it needs a connection. Concentrate here. Every time when client is sending a request, what request it was sending? It was sending a HTTP request. What request it was sending? HTTP, like get, put, post, delete. It was sending a request. So it needs every time a connection. Say some. It needs every time a TCP connection, transmission control protocol. Sending a request, receiving a request. Sending a request, receiving a request. What request it was sending? HTTP command. Get, put, post. These are the commands. So it needs every time a header. That data frame is nothing but it consists of a certain headers. So every time it is sending the headers, it will become a overhead of headers. Understandable means there are many headers which create a complication, which create a issues. But whatever here, concentrate here. Once the initial handshake, we say generally we'll say handshake, or technically you say TCP connection. This is nothing but handshake, initial handshake. Like your friends will handshake now. Once the connection is done, you no need of header. It sends some messages, it receives messages. Understandable? There is no overhead of headers. Yeah, where you are observing? Yeah, yes, sir. Stand up. So, it needs a single TCP connection. The meaning is, it needs a single TCP connection. It needs every time a TCP connection. Understandable? Here, once the connection is set up, done. Only any one of the either one of the client or server can close the request. Here, every time you need a TCP connection. That is nothing but overhead of headers. Many headers. Here, a single header is enough. Understandable? Say some. These are some differences between REST API and WebSocket API. So, because of this reason, REST API is not normally used in real-time application. They mostly WebSocket API used in real-time application. Because once the connection is done, that's it. No need of connecting again and again. Yes, why are you smiling? Done? Clear? Say some. Say some. Yeah. So now let me move to the levels. As I explained you this, now let me move to the level 1. Now whatever the diagram you have drawn this, it is IOT level 1. Which level it is? Understood up to that? So in real-time application, we'll use WebSocket only. We'll use mostly WebSocket. REST is not preferable because of those many reasons. Every time I need a connection, your requests are like independent with each other. There will be an overhead of headers. Because of those many reasons, you can't